back to another episode of Card Talk, podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about the results of the survey that we had the community fill out for Superlative February. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about superlatives.
That's the best, isn't it?
It's just the gosh darn. It's just the gosh darn bestest.
It is the bestest.
And we're also going to be taking some time to thank our superlative patrons, which, by frankly, is every single one of them.
Yes. All our patrons are just amazing. They're the best. They're the people who we would go to the ends of the earth for and who give us a little bit of money to keep the lights on. And right now we're at 20. We have 27 patrons, and that's just amazing. And if you want to become a patron and become eligible for Card Talk swag given out sometime near the end of this year, we will gladly have you. You can visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018, and that is how you go there and give us just a little bit of money. It can be anything from $1 to $1 million. What were you going to say, Grant?
I was just going to say, even if you can't afford to become a patron, just hit the subscribe button. It costs nothing. It's completely free, but it does show your support for all of us.
Yes, subscribe to everything we do. Let me get through the names. I'm going to try the classic one breath get through the names.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it in reverse alphabetical order. So, okay, so ready? Here we go. We have Vardane, Sean, Scott, who is new, Russ, Robert, who is new, Phil, Peter, Niall, Dominic, Mike, Matt, Lou, Kyle, Justin, Joshua, Joseph, Joe, who is new to Ready Teddy, Jason, James, Jake, Edmund, David, Daniel, Carl, Brandon, who is new, and Alex, who is new. Okay, that is amazing.
I thought you were going kind of slow there. I was worried about you.
I know. Well, and I had to add like who the new patrons were and who, and that Joe became Ready Ted. Ted, I will say that you are responsible this year for the past 4 or 5 months since we entered the Ready Teddy level as a level in the thing, in the Patreon. You're responsible for bringing in a couple of bucks to the podcast, and we thank you for joining the team here.
It's certainly a wild ride.
Right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was hoping I wasn't going to have to call your wife to tell her that you'd passed out.
No, yeah, right. I will say, in a note of seriousness, that a lot of the Ready Teddy level subscribers, like, we don't ever expect people to stay as Ready Teddy level subscribers, but it's a good way that people who have reached out and who like the show have given, like, just like a gift to the show. And I think that was really pleasant. So when Joe became a Ready Teddy level subscriber, he's like, it's the holidays and I wanted to show you some support, and I'll become a Ready Teddy level. He gets a couple of things because of that. He gets a show, another show, and so it's fun. It's fun to do that. So,
yeah.
So, anyways, thank you to all our patrons. You guys rock and roll. But let's move on to the content that y'all are waiting for. Is the superlatives? Yes, and that's just amazing. It's like the tallest mountain on Middle Earth is Superlative February. And so, just to let you know, every February we have Card Talk. Has an extravaganza month, and so in 2019, the first year we did Sylvan February and released an episode a day. That was crazy. And then Couples February, we did 3 episodes a week for February, and now we're doing Superlative February. And it was our way of honoring the game that we all love, and we want to try to honor it in the best way that we know how, and the best way that we could think of doing this is by having the community be as involved in it as possible. So I put out a 12-page survey asking the community what they felt were the best cards, the worst cards, like what's your favorite deck type, what's your favorite side quest, just a whole bunch of like superlatives, best and worst in the game. And so we got 130 responses. Everybody who responded is going to be put into a drawing, and every time we release one of these episodes, we will give away an adventure pack or card talk swag or something. We have a whole bunch of stuff in the prize closet that we'll give away, but it's just a way to celebrate the game and it's going on break. And so that's what we did. And so this week we've been talking about all the tactics cards, because the tactics was the least popular sphere. Not only was it the worst sphere in the game, 40% of the players that responded to the survey said that tactics was the worst sphere in the game, but it was also the least popular. So when I asked people like what's their favorite sphere, only 14% said tactics. So but you can tune into the first episode in the series to hear that discussion. But in this episode we're going to talk about attachments and events. And so these are a little more interesting, I think, because attachments, especially in tactics, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's so many attachments and tactics that kind of do the same thing, like get +1 defense or give +1 attack, or but that are conditional, that it's hard to kind of weed it all out and get it all figured out. But we did the best thing we could, and there are definitely some clear favorites and some clear bests when we were talking about this. So I wanted to make sure that we honored those. And so, Grant, I'll let you decide. Do you want to talk about attachments or events first?
Yeah, let's go with attachments.
Attachments. And Ted, do you want to talk about favorites or bests first?
Let's do favorites.
Favorites. Okay, favorites. This is great. I have the top 6 answers on the board. 130 community members were surveyed. Okay. And so
just as a side note, I absolutely love Family Feud.
You do?
This is
okay, so this is like your dream, right? And so
in the left corner.
So the thing to keep in mind, and this is not just for you two, obviously we're recording these shows and you guys kind of know that favorites are going to be all over the place. But for the people at home, realize that when I asked these questions on the survey about favorites, I just left it open. So anybody could have written anything that they wanted in there, or they didn't have to write anything at all on there. So like favorite attachment, it wasn't like a select this, from the list. It was a, just write what you thought your favorite attachment was. And so again, you get a lot of like one-offs, people who for some crazy reason, I don't even know of a tactics attachment that people never use anymore, but
keeping count.
Yeah, keeping count, or grappling. One person put grappling hook, okay, that's fine, stuff like that. But there were some clear tops here, so we'll start here. So the top 6 answers are on the board. And Ted, since you love Family Feud, why don't you let's mix it up. I'm trying to not do the same thing twice. So why don't you take 2 guesses, and then Grant can have 2 guesses, okay? And then we'll do one. Okay, so go ahead, Ted. What's your 2 guesses here?
All right, so I think cards that are going to be on people's favorite list to play for tactics attachments, I'm going to say Firefoot is going to appear on that list. And... oh no.
Firefoot, there was a one or 2 people that said Firefoot, but it's not. Okay. So, and then what's your second one?
My second one is going to be Rivendell Blade.
Nope. Neither of those made the list of favorite attachments.
Ah, shucks.
Okay. Grant,
Okay.
what's your two guesses?
Dagger of Westerness.
Dagger did not make the list of
Okay,
favorite
Board of
attachments.
Galadriel.
Bow of the Galathrim did not make the list. Okay.
My shock faces.
So Ted, come on, buddy. Favorite attachments.
Favorite attachments. All right. Well, people. All right. I'm trying to
Come on,
think because some people.
The whole community knows what your favorite attachment is. Give me one. Give me your favorite attachment. Give me.
So my favorite is I it's tough. I have two. So my next two are going to be Rohan Warhorse.
Okay, that's number 4 on the list. Only 5 people said it, just to let you know what the deal is. So.
And Gondorian Shield.
Gondorian Shield is number 1 on the list. 14 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
So Grant, I'll let you do this one more time. So the total here for Ted, he got Rohan Warhorse at 5 and Gondorian Shield at 14. So that's 19. If you guess, I'll let you keep guessing attachments until you don't put one on the list, and then because you won't be able to get more than 19 points unless you guess 3 or more attachments. So go ahead. Attachments.
Raiment of War.
That's number 3 on the list. 7 points.
Let's see what else. Golden Belt.
Oh, Golden Belt was mentioned, but it didn't make the list. So we talked about it. We talked about Eagles and how they became like the new old hotness, right? So support of the Eagles was number 2 on the list. 8 people supported the Eagles.
Would not have guessed.
Right.
Nope.
And then we get down to the bottom of the list where, you get lots of 1s and 2s because it was, again, open-ended. So we had Spear of the Citadel, which I think is interesting because I always put Spear of the Citadel in with my Bilbo Baggins, my Tactics Bilbo Baggins decks. And then Secret Vigil, which is interesting. Secret Vigil, because...
Secret Vigil's amazing.
I know.
Well,
I'm surprised that well, I'll get to surprised here. So, in a minute. But so now moving to the best attachments. Okay. So best attachments. So just to recap for the audience, remember 50% of the people that replied to this said they had the whole card pool, and another 16% said they owned more than half. So 34% of the people said they owned half or less, right? So not that necessarily means anything for the best attachments, but I have 3. There's one that's by far and away the clear favorite. It's not like Eowyn clear favorite, but it's definitely like Eowyn was 60 people said, half the people said that Tactics Eowyn was the best tactics hero. It's not that much. But it's definitely a clear favorite. So Grant, what is the clear favorite of attachments?
Gondorian Shield.
Gondorian Shield, absolutely. Which I came in after Gondorian Shield was released, and I think Gondorian Shield gets a great reputation because Baragond was released in the same pack, so you get Baragond and the Gondorian Shield, and
the same cycle.
Yeah, same cycle. But the point is like there's, in my book, because I came in around that time and like Baragond wasn't on my the guy that I was playing with that got me into the game was playing Baragond, and like so whatever, the Gondorian Shield never really made my list of like awesome attachments. And again, there's so many other attachments now in the card pool that give you +1 or +2, maybe not +2 conditionally, but but there's definitely some attachments that do some similar things that
being cost 1. that +2 defense, if you're a Gondor trade,
Yeah,
really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm not panning Gondorian Shield at all. But what I think is that, like, when it was released, it was such a big deal because it helped core Denethor defend. Like, it helped a lot of things. But I think if it were released now, I think it would be less of a big deal, but still good. Like, I'm not knocking it. But I think it's better because of people's feel goods that they got when it was released.
Definitely. I mean, I was around when they released Gondorian Shield. I was around when Baragond and the Gondorian Shield and Spear of the Citadel was a big thing.
Right.
And yes, for a long time, that was my go-to defender.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, obviously, Baragond his title has been usurped quite fanatically with Grimbeorn, but
right.
I can still see,
at least for you, right?
It is just in general. But no, Gondorian Shield, I think if it was released today, it would have been a 2 cost for that +2 defense, making it more in line with, say, something like Ancestral Armor and Raiment of War.
Right. Yeah.
Which, obviously, Ancestral Armor gives you +2 defense and +2 hit points. Raiment of War gives you +1 attack, +1 defense.
But they're expensive, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Raiment of War costs 2, Ancestral Armor costs 4.
Right. Yeah, Ted, what were you going to say?
Yeah, those are all great cards, and yeah, Gondorian Shield when it came out, it made a big impact because it immediately boosted Baragond. You mentioned Denethor, both versions of Boromir, his Tactics one. It was really, still is like really great for him. So it helped a lot of characters when it came out.
It did. And note, right? Who owns the original artwork to that?
May it be a member of this card talk.
Yeah.
This guy right here.
That's why I was so shocked that you didn't guess that on the favorite attachment.
Well, I thought it would actually just be on the best list.
Right.
But because it doesn't, for people's favorite, it is a bit like you get +2 defense. It's not a fun attachment. It's just super good.
Right.
It doesn't, it's not shiny. It's just.
Right. It's like Golden Shield, right? Like, it's really good on Eowyn and Rohan characters, but like it's not I don't know. It's not super shiny all the way around. So
yeah, it's both one of my favorite and I think best cards to play.
Right.
Because it saved me. I like cards that defend. And like
you're huge on defenders. So
yeah, because it's like, what are the things that like protect you from the dangers of Middle Earth?
Right.
And Gondorian Shield is one of those cards for me.
Right. Well, there were 2 others that had, if Gondorian Shield, 28 people said that Gondorian Shield was the best. And again, you're going to have a lot of one-offs, right? And so, but then there was 2 where 9 people said that there was the best. So the second best, I don't know, the 2 second best attachments based on what the community said. What would you? I'll each give you one guess. So Grant, what's your second best attachment in?
I'd say the Rohan Warhorse.
Not on the list. Ted?
Shocking.
I know that ready on the Rohan Warhorse that gives you the red, like it
goes
crazy.
on any tactics character.
I know,
and
it's
a bunch
so
of their job is to attack.
In a sphere where you need readying, the Rohan Warhorse is really good for that. But I mean, it did make the list obviously, but it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't second.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with War Axe then.
Nope, War Axe.
Wow, right. Shocked.
So one is a core set card for Gimli. Citadel Plate.
Okay.
Which, fell out of favor because it was expensive and then became back into favor because there's a lot of ways to cheat it into play now. So I can see that for both new players and some veterans, And then the dagger of Westerness, which I think is maybe one of the more versatile weapons because of it's an artifact. It's a non-unique artifact that can go on. Like it's, I think it's great. So
yeah, dagger is very versatile. It goes on any hero, always gives you +1, triggers all the weapon stuff like foe hammer, goblin cleaver.
Yep,
it does a lot. It does a lot of things. It is very versatile, David. You're right.
The one thing that I was surprised is that Secret Vigil did not make the list of best attachments in a tactics deck. I feel like Secret Vigil is just like so good. It's so good. And both parts of the Secret Vigil are so good. The lower the threat by 1 because you can't quest in tactics, and then to lower your threat by let me change, right? So you
the area threat by 1 for the enemy.
Right, the enemy that's attached to it, and then you lower your threat by the attached enemy's threat. Like that's just so good.
Enemy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, I'm just surprised that. Yeah, I mean,
me too.
I guess people had to pick one, right? So, okay. So
what do we got for events? Right, we're
events is a little easier. Yeah, so events is a little easier. So I'll give you each one guess about what the best event in tactics is, and it was a runaway. So 75% of people thought that this was the best event. So, Grant, what's the best event in tactics?
Feint.
Ted, what's the best event in tactics?
Knowing our community responses so far, foe hammer.
Feint. 75% of the respondents said that Feint was the 82 of 110 people who answered the question. We had 130, but some people left it blank and things like that. So 82 people said Feint.
Wow, that's a lot.
So, I mean, there's not really to discuss. I mean, that's probably, I would say that's up there pretty good. Foe hammer's probably, next on the list. I didn't even look. There was a couple of one-offs and things like that. Right? But the interesting discussion then comes down to favorites, right? So I will say, again, Feint was top of the list, okay? Because I think, Ted, you'd mentioned in a previous episode that I think that a lot of people are kind of mechanical players, and they're just like, well, if it's the best card, then it's also my favorite, right? And so I think that's when you have 75% of the people saying that Feint is the best card, then it doesn't stand a chance that it's going to be on top of the favorites list. But not by much. Feint only got 22 of the favorite. So that means there's some fun other cards in the events that happen. So your job, guys, is to come up with, and here's what I'll do. I'll let you guys discuss, and I want you to come up with the 3 next favorite cards. Okay? So you and Grant discuss, and then come up with, just for a minute, discuss what you think the 3 are, and then somebody give me your final answer.
Okay, I definitely think Forehammer would be on that list.
People do seem to favor direct damage. And foe hammer is fun to play.
Foe hammer is not direct damage; it's card draw, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'd say Quick Strike could be quite interesting.
Quick Strike it's a core set card. We've seen a lot of popular core set cards. I think Raise the Shire might be on that list because people do enjoy to play hobbits, and Raise the Shire is very popular to get out key hobbit cards.
Yeah, okay, so I can see that. What about Wait No Longer?
I don't think that sees as much. I think it's fun to play, but I don't think a lot of people will reach for it off the top.
True.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of things that have been popular so far in the survey. Although Sterner Than Steel, I think, is also one of the best cards.
Yes, agreed. Sterner Than Steel does.
So, I think we should go with Sterner Than Steel.
Forehammer.
Yeah. Well, didn't we discuss Foehammer? Yeah.
That gives you card draw.
Yeah. And
What about Hand Upon the Bow?
again, it's fun, but I just don't think a lot of people will reach for it right away. I think raise the Shire, Foehammer,
Sterner Than Steel?
Sterner Than Steel.
Okay.
You should have listened to Grant.
No.
Hands Upon the Bow is number 2. 19. It was right behind Faint. People love Hands Upon the Bow. I mean, and that allows a ranged character to make an attack, right? Like that's
Exhaust a character you control with the range to immediately declare it as an attacker and resolve its attack against an enemy in the staging area. It gets +1 attack during this attack.
And then Foehammer was number 2. Or was number 3. Faint was number 1. Hands Upon the Bow was number 2. Then Foehammer was number 3. And then Quick Strike was number 4. Grant knows this community. Ted, you're all in your own head there.
Yeah, I think so. Jeez, sorry, Grant. Just followed your lead.
That's all right.
I thought they would have. Those were all. I thought those were all. I mentioned it. I didn't think they'd be as high as they were.
Yeah, I mean they're just. Favorite is also such an arbitrary. It's highly scientific yet arbitrary. The favorite thing because what one man's trash is another man's treasure. So it's interesting.
But I don't think with any of the cards we mentioned were particularly bad choices because people do.
And they all made the list. They all made the list, but there was there was a cutoff there at like 9. Quick Strike had 9. So it wasn't like 75% like Faint being the best of the events. It was spread out. Faint and Hands Upon the Bow were people's favorite, but
what's really interesting is all 3 of those are very similar effects. Quick Strike and Hands Upon the Bow, they attack the enemy beforehand, and to kill them ideally, and that subsequently also stops the attack, which is what Faint would do.
Right.
So they're all kind of very similar effects for one tactics resource.
And then Foehammer, falls in line with Legolas being the best and the favorite ally in the tactics sphere, with the card draw.
Or the card draw.
Right.
0 resources for 3 cards.
Yeah, that's
good.
That's not horrible.
Yeah, it seems okay.
Yeah, it seems okay. So this week, on top of talking about the tactics cards, we were also talking about like decks and other player cards and things like that. So we talked about like the One Ring and Master cards and things like that. So I wanted to finish this week off by talking a little bit about like just some general questions that I had about player cards. And so and this guy, you guys can add your slant on it, but I said the question I asked was, what is your favorite card in the card pool? Right? I didn't have any qualifiers. It wasn't buried in like, give me your favorite tactics card or your favorite, like it was just, what's your favorite card in the card pool? And I said it could be for any reason, the art, its effect, its playability, like whatever. Okay. And so 30 seconds. Ted, what is your favorite card in the card pool?
Mine specifically or the survey?
No, yours.
Ooh. My favorite card in the entire card pool, even though I'd like to limit it to, it's Tactics Aragorn.
Tactics Aragorn, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Is it the ability?
A couple episodes, because we've been doing tactics themed episodes for the Superlative week. But his response, he's good, and his ability is fun and good at the same time.
Right. Okay, Grant, what's your 30-second favorite card?
Grimbeorn.
We don't even have to discuss it. You love Grimbeorn.
Yes, I do. He's exactly what he says on the tin.
Also mentioned in many Card Talk episodes.
Right.
David played in many Card Talk episodes.
Yeah,
right.
David, what can I guess at yours?
Sure. I don't even know if I know what it is, except I mean it was the first card that came to mind when I was like, oh, my favorite card. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna think it's also a hero. I think heroes just
I think that's
they play 100% of the time,
right.
right? So
Yep.
they tend to be people's favorite cards. I'm gonna go ahead and say Sam Gamgee.
Sam Gamgee may be number 2 on that list.
Oh, okay.
I like Tactics Bilbo. Like I just want to keep playing Tactics Bilbo all the time, because I love the guarded cards. Like I love the hobbits. Like Tactics Mary is also on that list. Like I do love Celeborn and the Sylvan stuff. Our friend Chad Garlinghouse, I'm sure he loves Haldir of Lorien, and Chris, he likes Aristor, and he probably likes Arwen better than Aristor in terms of just favorite. I don't know. I'm putting words in their mouth, but like you just know what people's favorites are because you listen to what they say. But the community by far and away had a favorite card. Guess what card it was? Grant, what do you think the community's favorite card was?
A Test of Will.
Ted, what do you think?
Wow, that's a really good answer. And I'm gonna say Unexpected Courage, because there's the top 2 cards I think in the card pool. Yep. Probably.
I think so. The number 1 card far and away. Again, the answers were all over the place, but it was Gandalf. 19 people said Gandalf was their favorite card in the card pool.
So assuming core set ally.
It did. Many people did not distinguish. So I would assume that that's what they were saying, but also Hero Gandalf is fun to play with. Over Underhill is a little more nichey.
I think. Yeah, a lot of people probably meant just the core set ally because it goes into a lot of different decks. He has a fun he's strong, fun interplay effect.
Yep. And then 2, the second on the list, way down. And again, because it was such a broad question, people said, like Peace and Thought was one person, like people just loved the artwork, like for different reasons. And I didn't ask what the reasons were. I just wanted to know what people's favorite cards were. But the second on that list was Eowyn and Beorn. And I have to assume that Beorn, we've talked about Eowyn ad infinitum. So, but I assume Beorn is on that list because Hero Beorn really like flips how to build a deck. You know what I mean? And that's kind of fun. So, but it may be Ally Beorn. I don't know. But
Beorn is pretty powerful. Hero Beorn is definitely more of a you have to build with him in mind in.
Right.
Yeah, I get a kick. I actually really love to play him because I enjoy because like he's a bear, right? He's a shapeshifter,
right?
So I really enjoy heroes that are he's like non-traditional, right? Because he's not a human or elf or whatever. He's a bear,
right? He's a
bear,
big old bear.
He's a bear, yeah. I haven't quite done it yet, but I want to put a deck list together that's like Beorn and then like Quick Beam and like Wahir or something.
so starting at really, 40 threat.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. But your hero lineup is just he's like terrifying. Right. Like if you're an orc,
right?
You're like
you're running away.
Eagle and a bear. What am I gonna do?
Right.
You have literally 3 turns to win before you threat him.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm working on that, but I think he's really fun for that reason.
So there are 2 more questions that I wanted to bring up here in our little like deck building week also. Mm-hmm. And I'll start with the one that didn't have any clear answer. So, but I will ask you guys this, and Grant, you can go first on this. It says, the question was that, what's the one card that you've played that you wanted to be good but just isn't that good? Like it just isn't good. Like you were like, oh, this card looks really good, and it was like all of a sudden you're like, it's just not. There was a lot of people said stuff, but
for me, I'd say Brock Iron Fist in the end comes.
You actually thought that they may have been good?
Brock Iron Fist, when I first pulled the core set out, yes. I thought Brock Iron Fist may have worked. The end comes, I wanted it to be better than what it actually became. if just the name of it, the end comes, oh great, what does it do? Ugh. All right,
Mhm.
into the binder. Never
Right.
to see the day again.
Right. Ted, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of cards that I just haven't quite been able to get to tick. And I think Nasia's on there for me because I'm like I just kind of I'm like she can boost her stats at will, or like with the appropriate number of resources, and she's low threat, and that can be really versatile and really helpful. And I've seen her put on the table before, but I've never just myself been able to like this seems to be so great, but I could never quite get it to fit into a deck where I want it to be.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to go a little more new, and I'm going to say I think the one that I thought was going to be a ton of fun, and maybe it was just me being anxious, but it just didn't work out that way. Is the Burglar's Turn, the contract, and a couple of people said the Burglar's Turn, like I just wanted it to be more than what it was, and it just really didn't do. Like, it's too restrictive to me. Like there's no way to really like have fun and mechanically get the attachments out from your burglar deck or your loot deck, and it like I don't know. It just I was really excited for it to come out. I had all these ideas, and then I tried it, and it just I don't know. Just didn't seem to fall into play.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple other like things that people said, like Hero Quick Beam was one.
Mm-hmm.
Ally Sam Gamgee, which I thought was interesting. Idraean, which I think is, I don't know, To the Eerie, right? Or To the
Yeah.
Eyrie, that one's good. Song of Mocking, like a lot of people said Bilbo, like Lore Bilbo. Like they thought it was going to be good, and then High Threat, I guess, or something. Merland.
Yep, that's fair. I can see that. His
Like
past card draw is good, but then he's lackluster on his stats.
right. And then, so to turn this on its head, so Ted, I'll let you go first. This one, there was a little bit of a clear thing, and it was what's a card that you thought was going to be trash, but then when you played it, you were like, oh, this is good. And so, Ted, I won't have you guess, but is there a card that you were like, this isn't going to be fun, and then when you did, you were like, oh,
what's going to be so what's funny about my answer? So we're talking about cards that you initially like thought it was going to be like, why would I play this, right?
Right.
In the initial release article, when Tactics Aragorn was spoiled, he was panned. I kind of panned him. I was like, what? He engages an enemy? I was like, why don't you just have like a ranged hero? I was like, Legolas can do this.
Right.
Like Brand or can do this.
Right.
Or like there's just where are you gonna take the enemy from? Like and then there was Lore Aragorn, so I'm like, why would I play him over Lore Aragorn when I can just dump my threat to and get 15, 20, 25 threat reduction from a hero ability? And then I played him, and he's I mentioned it I'm like, he became my favorite card.
Right. Oh, that's funny. How about you, Grant? Do you have a card that you were like, this card is junk, and then you ended up playing it and you were like, it's great?
I've got to say some of the Doomed cards, likes of Legacy of Numenor and Deep Knowledge. When they first came out, it's like, why on earth would I play a Doomed card over something that I'm not jacking my threat so much for?
Right.
And then, I mean, I'm still hesitant to play Legacy of Numenor because of the fact that it's
4.
such a high. Yeah, Doom 4 for one extra resource on all your heroes. Yet Deep Knowledge, I'll play without a second thought.
I know, it's so funny, right?
Because of the fact that's 2 cards for 2 threat for everybody. And I think that's more stable and more manageable than, say, a Doom 4 for everybody.
Right. It's crazy. And my choice is actually really funny because It's actually was on the top of the list here. It was Galadriel. You know, like once you put Galadriel in a deck and you see how she works, you go, oh, okay. and I thought that was really funny because, we had Caleb on the show, and the first show that we had Caleb on, it was just Grant and I, and we talked to Caleb, and Caleb came on to talk about Galadriel, and we talked about it. Like I was a little hesitant, and then like I tried Galadriel in a deck, and then the next I'm running Slippery Sylvans, and like it's just crazy, like the Sylvanest Noldor ever. Like she's great. So if you're hesitant to play Galadriel, play her. And then the community also said the Citadel Custodian, Ted, and then Aristor got more than one vote. So I thought that those were interesting because those are cards that I think widely people just when they see them say, Citadel Custodian's not going to be good. Look at me. I didn't like the Citadel Custodian. I still don't like the Citadel Custodian for whatever reason, and I still haven't really done much with Aristor.
I've got to agree with you there, David. I'm quite surprised that people say the Citadel Custodian is good.
Well,
I mean, I see some of these
more based on like shock value, right? Like their opinion was varied.
Right.
And I think with Citadel Custodian, that's probably what they got. Is they're like, oh yeah, he's 5, but then you're like, oh, I'm gonna actually just play him for 1, and then this or free.
Right.
People are surprised at that.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, because we talked about that on the Citadel Custodian episode. That
check out that episode.
You can accidentally have 5 Gondor or 4 Gondor allies in play and not really know it. Like, oh, look, the Word of Healing is Gondor too. Whoops. So, anyways, and not that they were by far and away. Galadriel, just to let you know, had 5 people thought Galadriel looked bad and then played it and then was like, oh. And then the Citadel Custodian had 2 and Aristor had 2. So it wasn't like they were overwhelmingly like, but they were the only ones that had multiple people say there. So anyways, just like the other 3 shows, we don't have anything to rate here, but you know what? This is highly scientific yet arbitrary, right?
I think the whole superlative month, the whole survey.
I feel like that needs to go on a T-shirt. Highly scientific yet arbitrary. Like that's
our swag for next year, folks.
Card talk.
Yeah, we'll get that going. So, anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Card Talk and our extravaganza month of Superlative February. And you know what? Join us as we continue our discussion next week on these same superlatives. Have a great day, everybody. See you later.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube, and there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.